The film opens with two Mormon missionaries, Sister Barnes, Sophie Thatcher, and Sister Paxton, Chloe East, who discuss pornography after Paxton empathizes with an actress she saw in a video. As they walk through town looking to engage others for conversion, they come across a group of teenage girls who play a prank on Paxton by pulling her skirt down to see if she's wearing magic underwear. Paxton confides in Barnes about the mockery they often face for their beliefs, but Barnes seems largely unbothered. As heavy rain begins to fall, the missionaries approach the home of an Englishman named Mr. Reed, Hugh Grant. They begin to discuss their mission, and when Reed invites them inside, they politely agree, but only after learning that his wife is home, as they need another woman present. Reed mentions that his wife is baking a blueberry pie. Once seated at the table, Reed chats with the girls on various subjects, including religion, sharing that he has studied Mormonism and even owns a copy of the Book of Mormon by Joseph Smith. They also touch upon Sister Barnes's late father, who passed away from ALS, and make a conscious decision to avoid discussing Taco Bell. The mood turns slightly tense when Reed makes remarks about Barnes's father and questions their faith before stepping out of the room. After he leaves, Barnes stares at the candle on the table, which fills the air with the sweet aroma of blueberry pie. As the conversation with Mr. Reed becomes increasingly uncomfortable, Sister Barnes and Sister Paxton attempt to discreetly leave the house, only to find that the front door is locked and they have no cell signal to call for help. They make their way to the back of the house, where they stumble upon Reed in his study, surrounded by numerous books. When they try to excuse themselves, Reed points out two doors labeled belief and disbelief, hinting that he wants them to choose which one to take. In a surprising twist, Reed retrieves what initially appears to be a sinister object, but reveals it to be an original version of the Monopoly board game. He then lectures the missionaries about its origins, explaining how it evolved from an earlier game called the Landlord's Game. Reed connects this to the song The Air That I Breathe by the Hollies, claiming that despite the missionaries' denials, he knows they're familiar with the song Creep by Radiohead, which incorporates elements from the former. Through this, Reed aims to convey his belief that all world religions are flawed and stem from a single, true faith. He offers the missionaries a choice: go through the belief door or the disbelief door. Barnes challenges Reed's assertions before she and Paxton decide to go through the belief door, which leads them down into a basement dungeon with no apparent escape. Reed then speaks to the women through a speaker as a frail old woman, referred to as a prophet, enters holding a messy blueberry pie. Reed claims that the pie is poisoned and that the woman will be resurrected shortly. Meanwhile, Elder Kennedy from the Mormon Church becomes concerned when he realizes that Barnes and Paxton have not checked back in. He visits the homes they might have visited, including Reed's house, but leaves before the women can take any action. Later, the prophet appears to have been resurrected, muttering about the afterlife. Reed descends into the dungeon, reveling in what he claims is a miracle, and offers to sacrifice one of the missionaries to bring the other back to life. However, Barnes reveals that this is not a miracle, but rather a twisted plot. She explains that she and Paxton had avoided discussing Taco Bell because Barnes had a near-death experience due to an E. coli infection, which eerily resembles the afterlife described by the prophet. Before Barnes can elaborate further, Reed slashes her throat, asserting that she will be resurrected. However, after a few minutes, Reed realizes that Barnes cannot be revived and decides to cut into her arm. He claims to have discovered a microchip, insisting that Sister Barnes was never real and that Paxton's reality is also false. Paxton quickly responds by revealing that she recognizes the metal object as a contraceptive device, exposing the truth about Reed's twisted intentions. The real prophet had indeed died, but the woman who was resurrected was a different woman whom Reed had scripted to recount a fabricated afterlife. However, in a shocking twist, the second woman reveals that she has switched places with the deceased prophet and utters the words, "It's not real." Paxton then descends through the trapdoor where the deceased woman had been, a chance that Reed permits her to take in order to witness what he claims is the one true religion. Upon entering, Paxton discovers numerous other women locked in cages and realizes that, for Reed, this so-called one true religion is about control. He had attempted to manipulate them into believing that taking their own lives was their own idea. As Reed tries to provoke her, Paxton stabs him in the throat with a concealed letter opener that Barnes had given her for self-defense. She makes a dash for the exit, but doesn't get far before Reed embeds the letter opener into her abdomen. As both of them begin to bleed out, Reed urges her to pray for them. Paxton counters that prayer doesn't genuinely help, but is more about kindness. She starts to pray, while Reed crawls over to finish her off. Suddenly, he is struck on the head by a plank of wood with nails sticking out of it, killing him instantly. The blow is delivered by Sister Barnes, who manages to survive long enough to collapse into Paxton's arms. Eventually, as dawn breaks and the storm subsides, Paxton finds a window to escape through. She notices a butterfly landing on her hand, reminding her of her earlier wish to become one when she dies. However, when she looks away for just a brief moment, the butterfly disappears.